I find this absolutely just precious that Senator Sanders and your next Democrat presidential candidate, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, have been going from town to town in private jets, warning you about a rich elite that want to control every aspect of your life. Could you maybe take like a VW bus next time? Like, don't even take a new car. Like, take a junker. Come by. You can borrow my 2016 Toyota with the dented bumper. You can take that so you don't look. It's the same thing Al Gore does. Al Gore takes a private jet to a fleet of SUVs to some conference to warn you that burning CO2 is going to destroy the planet. It's like, well, that doesn't make. Why don't you do that? Then why'd you come here in a private jet? So we have the Fighting Oligarchy Tour. And the reason why Sanders sticks on this, and this isn't really AOC's thing, this is more Bernie Sanders' thing, is because it's just this ethereal concept that you can't prove or disprove, and he's always arguing against it. Like, look out, you gotta look out for those oligarchs. Yeah, that's what we're worried about here in Texas. When next time you're at waiting to check out at the Walmart Supercenter, I bet you the person in front of you in line and the person behind you in line, they're going to be talking about oligarchs, aren't they? No one's talking about that. So, Oligarchy Tour. It's really just this same class struggle that boils down to just a rudimentary Marxist worldview. And so, some people like to try and divide us on racial lines. Some people like to try and divide us on sexual orientation lines and try and divvy us up like that. But the true Marxist is always doing it along class lines. And, that's just the way they see the world. You get kind of used to it after a while. But, man, it's hilarious to watch. Here, Bernie Sanders doing oligarchy just all over the place since
this great country of ours is moving very rapidly in the direction of oligarchy. The United States of America today is increasingly becoming an oligarchy. More and more moving toward an oligarchy.
Okay. So he just says this. Same thing, year over year. No specifics here. So when we finally do get some specifics, or at least an attempt at some specifics, it's always fun to go break this down. He posted on his Twitter/X account, whatever we're calling it these days, a little bit of an explanation here. This is from Bernie Sanders yesterday on X.
The worst form of addiction that this country now faces is the greed of the oligarchy. You might think that if you had $10-20 billion, it would be enough. Kind of enough to let your family live for the next 20 generations. But it's not. For whatever reason, whatever compulsive reason they have, these guys want more and more and more, and they are prepared to destroy Social Security, Medicare, nutrition programs for hungry people in order to get even more. That, to me, is disgusting.
So let's talk about some of the economic fallacies here. Number one, name me a system of government that doesn't end up in what he describes as an oligarchy. Is there no oligarchs in Russia right now? Is there no oligarchs in communist China right now? Is there no oligarchs in North Korea? Where have you set up the system of government that you prefer, Bernie Sanders, and there's not a handful of ruling elites that have a whole bunch of money? Happens everywhere. So the fact that there's rich people out there, that's just a sign that something's wrong? Really? When we got the government that's most closely aligned with your principles here in the modern times, Venezuela, was there no oligarchs there? They still had billionaires. Well, actually, when he died, the only billionaire left was Hugo Chavez. Now his children and his heirs are the only billionaires left in Venezuela. Is that better than an oligarchy? Because that's as close as we've come to squishing the idea that there's a system that doesn't create billionaires, just make everyone so damn rich they have to eat the zoo animals. Is that better? Is that what you want? But no, it's this blame the rich thing. And rest assured that none of your problems that exist in your life right now are because Elon Musk has too much money. None of your problems are because some billionaire has a whole lot more money than you. Now, there's a natural base human instinct of envy that he's playing like a fiddle here, but it's the same old thing. Thomas Sowell is all over this blame the rich stuff. And he has a great book that I know you're not going to read, so I'll pull some bites from a recent interview.
Point their finger at the rich and whip up resentment. They're not trying to empower anybody. They're not lifting up the poor. They're disarming them. They're creating a distraction, a sleight of hand, so you don't notice what's really happening. The strategy is as old as politics itself. Stoke envy, manufacture outrage, and direct it at a convenient target. That way, people are too busy hating to ask why the schools don't teach, why the jobs don't come, or why the system keeps so many trapped in dependency.
Yeah, and that's great. The pushback on that is, he's supposed to make you envious of these people who have tens of billions of dollars to spend, and they just want more and more and more. Bro, Congress just spent $7 trillion last year, and y'all still want more and more and more. Y'all are in the trillions, and you're still increasing it every year. Is there no limit to your that's not greedy when you want to spend $7 trillion of other people's money, but Elon Musk can spend $40 billion of his own to buy Twitter? Oh, that's greed. That's what I need to be worried about. Not you, Elon. Yeah, right.
You'll notice the loudest voices for equality rarely live like equals. They're in gated communities, flying private jets, sending their kids to schools the average person can't afford. They're not revolutionaries. They're power brokers. They preach class warfare because it's a useful tool, not because they believe it. If they really cared about the poor, they'd focus on what works. Better schools, fewer regulations, policies that reward. But that's hard. It takes results. It's much easier to point at the rich and say, they're your problem. This isn't about fairness for them. It's about control.
Right, and he acts like that you're calcified in your class, and when he was a guy who never had a real job until he became the mayor of Burlington. You still can't name what Bernie Sanders does. Is he a teacher? Is he a coach? Is he a carpenter? Is he a IT guy? Is he a lawyer? Is he anything? Yet he's got 4 houses, flying around on private jets, talking about how there's elites that want to control you. You're the elite.
The greatest threat to opportunity isn't inequality of income. It's the centralization of power. The more power they have, the less you do. And the less power you have, the harder it is to rise. The politics of resentment is a trap. It keeps the poor angry, the powerful secure, and the system broken. If you want to fix things, stop looking at what others have and start asking, what's stopping you from building your own?
Beautiful. And he's right. It's the politics of resentment. That's what a lot of this is. I mean, you got them resenting them so hard, they're blowing up electric cars. I appreciate you sticking with me through these economic talks. I know it's not the sexiest thing in the headlines here, but so many of the issues that are affecting you could be solved with proper economic philosophy. When you talk about property taxes, when you talk about the schools, when you talk about health care, even when you talk about immigration, there's giant things that could be done if just we would get our economic house in order. If we all understood it, agreed on the correct version of economics, that would be my version. Thank you very much. And if we all moved in that direction, so many of these things, like when we were talking about earlier on the show, one of the big problems with illegal immigration is how much they cost us at the hospitals and at schools and all these other social programs. Well, cut them off. Cut them off. Some of them would go back. It wouldn't completely solve it, but that would alleviate some of the issues we have. It would dim the magnet that's pulling them here in the first place, and it would also kind of repel some of the ones back home when they don't enjoy homeschooling or whenever they go to the hospital and they get care, but then ICE shows up and takes them home. So another one, we were talking about it yesterday, birth rates. There's an economic angle to almost everything. Like even with abortion, like if you wanted to reduce abortions, couldn't we just raise a whole bunch of money? And when the girls go to the abortion clinic, say, hey, instead of aborting this baby, if you carry it to full term, we'll give you $1 million. Wouldn't that be a great economic solution to abortion? Christians, step up, make the fund. If you don't want them having it so bad, you don't have to restrict them. You don't have to pass a law. You don't have to ban it. But the economic incentive. Economics incentives would be brilliant in so many of these other situations. Now, back to the birth rate thing. I heard a terrible idea. Jessica Tarloff, I think this was on the 5. This was on Fox News. But her birth rate solutions, it sounds like she learned economics from Bernie Sanders. They just say things that they think sound like it helps. They think it sounds good. but it's based in nothing. It has no economic underpinning. They're just throwing out a wish list.
And if the Republicans want to encourage people to have more children, you need paid sick leave. You need paid family leave. I understand the concerns about universal pre-K, but it's a net benefit to have that. It's a child tax credit. Again, that'll be coming up. I think it's in the American Family Act that's coming up. Make sure that you pass those things.
Yeah, see these other things that I was already wanting anyway. If we do that, then it'll result in higher birth rates. Really, maternity leave? What was the other thing, like paid vacation or sick leave?
And if the Republicans want to encourage people to have more children, you need paid sick leave. You need paid family leave.
Yeah, paid sick leave.
I understand the concerns about universal.
Paid family leave. I got it. Okay, so the United States isn't doing the worst in the birth rate race here. There are countries who are below 2 kids per woman, and that means their populations are on the decline. Some of them are way down, like 1.2, 1.4, South Korea, Hungary. And, this isn't a white thing. This isn't a race thing. This is happening across different developed countries, all on the other side of the planet, pretty much. But in these places that have even lower birth rates than we do, like take a Hungary or take a France or take a UK, they're all below us. But they have these things that she's talking about. They have paid family leave. They have paid maternity leave. They have paid sick leave. Did it make their birth rate go up? Do they have higher or lower birth rates than we do? They have everything you just asked for, saying that this would result in higher birth rates. But all the countries that do that have lower birth rates than us. And most of the countries that have a higher birth rate than us don't do that. So what are you talking about? You have in fact, all the evidence is lined up against you. And just look at how confident, she puts on her like Bernie Sanders. I got an oligarchy. We're headed toward an oligarchy. Based on what? What are you talking about? Why don't you give me the evidence of where your plans have worked in the past? Jessica Tarloff, why don't you show me a country that has all those things and their birth rate skyrocketed? In fact, these countries that have all these benefits and paid maternity leave and paid time off and paid family leave and whatever the heck else and universal health care and paid for daycare and whatnot, since they implemented those policies, did their birth rates go up or down? Well, the answer is down, but does Jessica Tarloff know that? Does anybody know that? Does anybody even question when stuff comes on TV? Like, when you heard Jussie Smollett, did you just go, oh, that's terrible? Or did you go, that's not believable? If you went, that's not believable, you're capable of critical thinking. If you believe the Jussie Smollett story for 5 seconds, you really need to be more skeptical of the people on TV. Well, they're no more correct about these economic issues, oligarchy or birth rate solutions or paid family leave. They're no more correct than Jussie Smollett was. Hey there, happy Friday. Welcome to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Tomorrow is WeatherCon, Blue Ribbon Roofing's 2025 WeatherCon, Frontiers of Flight Museum, 9:30 to 1:30. For more information, go to WBAP.com. My next guest is going to take a look at what's going on outside of our borders, and I think we have probably a pretty good report coming up from David Hamilton, America's Future Series. I see a lot of reasons to be optimistic, but let's dig into some of these headlines, starting with China. Now, China's been saying publicly all week, we're not negotiating anything on these tariffs, but Trump keeps saying, no, we're having talks. I talked to Xi recently. I don't want to, give you exact time and date, but I've talked to him several times here recently, and they've quietly lifted some of their tariffs, like on our semiconductors and on our aviation parts. So while publicly speaking, the headlines aren't that good, I think behind the headlines, there's some stuff to be optimistic about.
Absolutely. The Chinese way really is to not be confrontational and to save face. And so their easiest solution is to just not implement the things that they said they were going to do, or to quietly pull them back. And rather than publicly say that they're making a change, giving in, or anything like that, they're not about to do that. So they'll just change policy, and they won't announce it, and they can let the world think what the world wants to think about it.
Well, I wanted to ask you about they had bought some planes and they ordered some Boeings, but if there's 145% tax on them, this $60 million plane now costs like, I don't know, $150 million. I forgot what the actual numbers are. But if they turn around our planes and send them back, who else are they going to get planes from? Airbus? I mean, there's not like a whole burgeoning market of people offering commercial airliners. It's pretty much Boeing or Airbus. Isn't that like the only two options?
Yeah, in the short term, which means years, it would be very difficult for them to acquire those. You can't just ramp these sorts of things up quickly, just like you can't ramp up shipbuilding, et cetera. So the ultimate aim of this entire exercise is to get everyone to stop hurting each other and to say, hey, you punched me, I punched you, great. Let's stop hitting each other. Let's find a way to get rid of tariffs and lower them and level the playing field. And so we can all get back to business. And there are always pains when you go through these kinds of very difficult negotiations. And the other side just has to believe you're serious. And I think the Chinese are understanding that we are serious. They tend to outweigh us because that we tend to go in 4-year cycles, and they think in terms of 40 or 50 or 100-year cycles. And what they'll probably end up doing is say, okay, great, we'll make this go away here for the next year or so. But hey, under the next administration, we can go back to business the way it was.
Right.
And so they have a very long-term view of the world. They don't want to suffer this pain. They are having their own financial challenges, economic challenges. So I see this kind of going away. I like to think that we would come to some agreement where we lower all of the tariffs across the board, with the understanding that their tariffs were higher on our goods than ours were on theirs originally. So ours are really the true retaliatory, matching, reciprocal tariffs, not the other way. We didn't just wake up one day and go, hey, let's slap on some tariffs to the Chinese. This was in reaction to a long-standing effort to increase their production and to decrease our production across the board in just about every vital thing. And it's worked. We are finally now standing up to them, and that is painful.
David Hamilton, I've had a hard time getting good info on what's going on with some of these foreign policy issues, because if you go to every other news platform but Fox News and pretty much Joe Rogan, everything's a disaster. Everything's terrible. It's apocalyptic. This is the worst attack in however many months or whatever. Just a blistering attack by Putin or whatever. But I have reason to believe that there's progress on that front. I just have a hard time people just admitting anything could be going right for this president.
So these attacks recently were very horrific, and they have been, but we, for a long time, didn't hear about any of them, right? So these things sort of come out based on what people report or the news cycle. Okay. And Putin, let's everyone be clear about this. I don't think you, I, or anyone else would not say that Putin is a vicious, brutal dictator bent on making Russia great again, right?
Agreed.
That's his goal.
Yes.
And he wants to be expansion, et cetera. But he's also not completely stupid, and he's practical. And if you punch him in the nose, he will come to the bargaining table. And that's kind of where we're at. He does have to stop doing this. This entire discussion is the one that you and I have had, which is how much territory would the Ukraine give up? And the narrative is concerning because we're talking about Crimea, which was given over, allowed to be taken by the Russians in 2014. So they've had that for 11 years. If they were to keep hold of the Crimea, that's not us insisting on or enabling them to take territory or keep territory that they took in the past 2 or 3 years. They've had that for some time. The real question should be, okay, of the additional area north and east of there, how much of that, if any, do they keep? And I've always felt that there was always going to have to be an exchange of some of that territory, which is ethnically Russian, linguistically Russian, for peace, with the understanding is that Ukraine would not be into NATO and Russia would withdraw all of its troops. And eventually, hopefully, on both sides, we're doing economic trade, we're doing economic development with both of those countries, and we all stop killing our best business partners.
I saw a headline but didn't click through and read it. Do you know any inside info on the headline that says a Russian general was killed with a car bomb?
Yes, that happened. That sort of thing is expected to happen. And this is a very bloody, serious war. And it's become very, very personal. And this was my frustration. I was on your show many, many times last year, and there didn't seem to be a discussion much about trying to at least have a conversation. There seemed to be only one solution, which was continue to fight until the bitter end, or possibly when we started using nuclear weapons. So,
good Lord, yeah.
This amplifies just how vicious and personal this is. You cannot blame Zelensky for not wanting to give up 1 hectare of territory and for wanting to see Putin and the Russians punished. You can't blame them for that. But at the end of the day, our job is to get a deal done and to stop the fighting and to save Ukraine from completely being obliterated.
All right, now I'm going to go Google what a hectare is. Thank you very much, David Hamilton, America's Future Series. Don't y'all have an event coming up in like 2 weeks?
Yep. America's Future Series is now working to create a program with the University of North Texas, the National Security and Economic Strategy Center, which is being developed. We're having a great event. It's by invitation only, but it's a great event, and we're going to have more events throughout the year.
All right. Thank you very much. David Hamilton, America's Future Series. You can find him online. Find out more about that event that's coming up in a couple weeks. Thank you, David.